Hi there. My name is Kay Moon, and I'm a twin flame channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about, let's move this out of the way. There we go. Don't save that. The new moon in Capricorn taking place on January 11th at 6:57 a.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. Super exciting new moon in Capricorn. Happy birthday to all the Capricorns out there. This is your new moon for 2024, where you get a complete emotional refresh and reset as you move into next or the current year, 2024, whether you were born as a December cap or a Jan cap. This is your new moon. Couple of quick announcements. I did do first look at the tail end of the Lightworker energy update. So if you're curious how this energy evolves into that full moon in Leo, definitely have a listen there. Full story, full picture is there. Additionally, the calendar is open for January, and this very potent new moon in Capricorn is going to have some lasting consequences and effects, especially for divine counterparts. So, if you're on a divine counterpart journey, whether you identify it as twin flame, soulmate, some other label, or no label, you're welcome to jump on my calendar in the month of January because the energy of this is going to remain potent well into the beginning of February. And here's why. This new moon takes place at the 20th degree of Capricorn and as a direct square to the transiting nodal axis. Anytime we have major activity in a direct square to the transiting nodal axis, in particular a retrograde or a new moon, what we get is crossroads. What we get is choice. What we get is a need to close out something, choose something else, a fork in the road. And this new moon in Capricorn opens that up for us through our divine feminine energy fields because this new moon in Capricorn is square Juno here inside of Virgo. Sorry, not square, it is trine. And so, because this new moon is opening up a process within the divine feminine energy fields, we get Juno going retrograde within 24 hours ish of this particular new moon. This new moon is going to impact the entirety of the Juno retrograde cycle. And I'm going to give you dates for that and some things you might expect within that as we move into this video. So, very consequential new moon. But yes, if you would like some support in your connection, definitely jump on my calendar now before things get even juicier. I use that tongue in cheek in February. Okay. This new moon is not only speaking to Juno, but we also have influence from Uranus, which is the original divine counterpart of Gaia. We also have, and this makes it a, what do you call that? Grand Earth trine. There we go. So we get 120 degrees in all of the earth signs, Juno, new moon, and Uranus, bringing loads of surprises into the world of relationship. We also have this new moon squaring Chiron as well, in addition to slight conjunction to Pluto. It's loose, but it's definitely there. We've got a sextile from both Neptune to this new moon, as well as Pallas, which is helping all of us take our guard down where we've been maybe a little bit guarded in connection. This is going to open up a little bit, give us a little bit more release, which will be very constructive. Um, and we also have this Pallas, Neptune, speaking to Earth in a grand water trine. And so this is, really interesting because that grand water trine is opening up the capacity to manifest some things through our emotions. I know I've spoken to you guys at length about your manifestation technique and how that's hidden in your chart. But for those of you with the water fifth house, this is where you really want to pay special attention to your emotions because your emotions are going to dictate some of the timeline that you're on. Okay. So I provided much richer, nuanced detail in the Lightworker energy update. So please have a listen to that. Consider this part 2 and then come back to listen to this. What we have going on here, this combination of here's the new moon, here's Uranus, here's Juno. It opens up a direct line to our ability to reshape our world with our actions, our power, and our faith. This year and last year, 2023, have always been meant to be major turning points in collective energy, specifically because of the way Pluto is leaving Aquarius in 2021. In 2022, we had a Uranus Saturn square energy that provided the liftoff for major change and transformation. It's coming to a head this year as Pluto moves into Uranus's sign. Okay. And because of the way Pluto has been squaring the transiting nodal axis and leaving its 14-year stay in Capricorn behind last year and entering into a new 20-year, 2-decade stay here in Aquarius, there major turning points all the way around, major choices, major decisions needing to be made, and this new moon in Capricorn is only part of it. Like I said, we've got some more intense energy coming up in February at that new moon in Aquarius that will really shake any of the holdouts loose. But for now, if you know there's some changes that you've needed to make, please go ahead and make them. Now is a good time to do that. For divine counterparts, this major change in where power rests, that's Pluto moving into Aquarius from the sign of Capricorn, coincides with the opening of a major union window from 2022 to 2023. If you've been with me all this time, thank you. I love you. It is an honor to serve you. I love doing what I get to do. And so you know that back in January of 2023, we had the beginning of uh a union window. Just pull this up so you guys can see it. There are the divine counterparts. If you're new, welcome. They came together on January 23rd of 2023. They do this, Juno and Jupiter, husband and wife of the zodiac. They come together once every 6.5 to 7 years. 6.5 to 8 years, average 7. And so the next time they come together won't be until November of 2028. But when they come together, you can feel the energy 1 year on either side. So starting in January of 2022 up until January of 2024, this constituted a union window where the energy of the connection, the pull of the connection, not the person, the connection, two different things, let's be clear, gets really loud and you feel poked, prodded, pushed, pulled toward your love vibration and frequency so that you can clean up anything that stands in the way of you and experiencing pure love, divine love incarnate on this side of heaven. Okay. We're at the close of this window now, but its message has been really clear. To open union with a counterpart, the access doorway is through the sign of the self. That's Aries, the sign they met in last January. Through union with yourself, that's Aries. Once again, this is why it's all about self, because Aries is the sign of the self, especially in ways that your chart dictates based on the house that Aries governs in your life. Through union with yourself, you will find you've conditioned the atmosphere, programmed the matrix, and set the stage for your union with a counterpart. This will be the doorway for all union activity until November of 2028, when the counterparts meet again in a very different sign. Okay. One thing, a really great example of this, one of my first clients of 2024, we met this past week, did a personal reading. The reading was all about her counterpart. It's totally fine. We talked about her journey as a twin, as a divine being incarnate in love, getting a love activation. It's probably our third reading together. And one of the things that we talked about this particular week was all about how her counterpart had showed up, reached out. She had sent a nice note on New Year's. Counterpart responded back. They'd had a brief conversation where counterpart had shared, oh, I haven't slept. It's been, over 24 hours. And she just checked in. She's like, oh, were you partying? He was like, yes. And, in her heart and mind, the conclusion she drew was that she was a necessary box to check off in terms of people to respond to, but that she wasn't necessarily a priority. They hadn't spent New Year's together. He wasn't reaching out to her, that kind of thing. Prior to that, as much, she did the initiation on New Year's. And so we had a little bit of conversation about it. We dug a little bit deeper, but why that was hurtful for her in particular. And what came to light was that, she really admired all of his social finesse and his capacity to be with people, far and wide, and really admired that and was wanting more of that in her own life. They had previously been a couple. When they were together, she got a taste of that with him. And so I said, okay, this is what we call limerence. And limerence will always block the way to love. Limerence and jealousy, right? Both of them are the same exact thing. They show us what we can have, who we can be, but we've repressed and told ourselves no around those things. And so, what we have to do, she asked me, is it possible that it's just limerence and not love at all? I said, maybe, but there's no way to know that until you get the limerence out of the way. And so I had recommended for her, there's a course inside something called the Personal Development School. Fabulous resource created by a trained psychotherapist specializing in attachment theory and attachment work. I told her to take the limerence course. I linked it for her. Within 24 hours of our reading, she did the course. She turned toward herself in union, did the course, started to understand what was it about him that had her feeling like she wanted it but couldn't have it, and how could she start cultivating these things within herself. Union with self. She did some union with self work. Recall that's what I was talking about here, right? Within 24 hours, her counterpart showed up, gave her a phone call. They had a much longer conversation. She didn't truncate it this time because she no longer felt like she was something to do on his check-off list. She was open. She stayed curious this time. And it was a beautiful conversation. But she wasn't expecting, again, here's Uranus and Juno, the unexpected coming out of nowhere, because she had done her part of her union with self work. Now we'll see what happens from here, but this is the kind of access that you all get to have by turning toward yourself, figuring out what your union with self work is. And if you need some help figuring that out for yourself and your connection, jump on my calendar. Now's the time to have a look. We have an extension of this union window energy while Juno is in Virgo and Jupiter is in Taurus. They're both in earth signs. That's a beautiful thing for them to both be in earth signs because they're speaking the same frequency. They're resonating in the same language here. Speaking the same language, resonating the same frequency when they're both in the same element. There's a lot more ease in the pull of the connection. Okay. This union window was scheduled to close January 23rd, 2024. However, because Juno and Jupiter are going to be in connection through these earth signs for a little while longer, it extends our union window. Okay. Um, and because Uranus is in the mix at this particular lunation at the kickoff to the Juno retrograde, the kind of speed that my client just saw is the kind of speed you can experience as well. Figure out what your next step is, look at your chart, know your next step, take that step, boom, things start to immediately turn in the direction of mirroring that union with self in your outer world because both of these are sitting in third dimensional outer world signs, okay? So I wanted to make sure I highlighted the opportunity here so that those of you who really are wanting union, not quite sure how to create it, understand that there's an access point for you in your chart, okay? And it's totally all right. If you're like, I can't afford a reading, look, I laid this stuff out in a channeled messages playlist. All you need to do is get a copy of your chart, go to the playlist, look for the 2022, 2023 Union for All Signs video. I laid it out. You can self-explore. You don't have to get me to spell it out for you. But if you like it when I do that, then of course you know where to find me at kmoonastro.com. Things in this kind of energy can turn on a dime in your life this month, next month, and every month through June, July. But it is your action, and that's Aries, and that's what my client did. She took action. Aries is all about action. It's your action that will call forward next steps and things beginning to move in the third dimension. I've been shown that now through 2027 are going to be some very special union years for the collective. Many twins who've been dancing for some time will get the impetus that they need to make the level of inner changes that will recalibrate their field for union in the external world. They'll get the impetus to make those changes at this time, and then union will start to cascade in the third dimension. Okay. So with this particular lunation, we have Juno, the divine feminine energy at that 21st degree of Virgo, preparing for her retrograde, which she'll do on January 12th, right after this. She's harmoniously aspecting the new moon, Uranus, the original divine counterpart, like I said, grand earth trine. This opens up an energy flow within the divine feminine energetic fields that will illuminate themes for the 2024 Juno retrograde. Juno has been in Virgo since October and preparing to slow down for her retrograde in the sign of Virgo from January 12th through April 21st. In a recent lunar update, I detailed the themes for the Virgo Juno retrograde and what you might experience and why. If you're one of my longtime viewers and you recall which one that was, if you'd mention it in the comments, I'd really appreciate it. I'd like to pull out that excerpt for people to listen to as a standalone video for the collective. Thank you so much in advance. I have the best subscribers. I know somebody will probably take it upon themselves, but I could use the help. Now, if you were here then and you recall, I spoke about how a Juno retrograde can lead to feeling Your orientation to your connection has changed. Your investment has weakened, or you and your counterpart have switched roles, chaser to runner, runner to chaser. You have more doubts or questions about your connection when a Juno retrograde can take place. All of this is part and parcel to a Juno retrograde experience, and especially in the sign of Virgo, who's, really wants to nail the details, the priorities, the order and the sequencing of things. There may be a lot of questioning that really shows up as Juno prepares to go retrograde, and that would have started as early as October of 2023 and will begin to peak now in January. Okay. Since this is the lunation closest to Juno's retrograde station, the themes unfolding at this lunation and the 60-ish days leading up to it are thematically what we may experience in greater detail, depth, and for our discernment and decision making during the Venus retrograde. All of those D words are the guidance that Virgo provides for us in addition to dedication. With Juno, our commitment asteroid retrograde, we may not feel as dedicated to our connections at this time, but this is ultimately going to serve us. So let me break down a few categories here. For those of you who have a union appointment with someone who is not the person you consider your twin, you may find that this period is one where you are able to release the connection you have, regardless of the label, so that you're able to step into the connection that is aligned for you, regardless of the label. For those of you who identify in some state of separation that involves no communication, if you've been too far gone in the world of purging and releasing of everything that's unlike love after an unconditional love activation, this transit will give you some reprieve and a break, allowing you to look more thoroughly at yourself and what you need to do in order to anchor love in the third dimension through consciousness, and how you can increase your dedication to yourself and your own health and well being with Juno in the sign that deals with physical health and well being. Now, because both divine masculine and divine feminine will be in earth signs through May 23rd, you will find that this extension of collective union energy that spanned from January 2022 to January 2024 will cause a pull toward the connection through May that you may find frustrating or exasperating if you've dragged your feet on things that you've been prompted to do in order to anchor love after this 2-year-long union window we just experienced. So for those of you who identify in separation, that involves some level of communication that's in and out, off and on, hot, cold, miscommunication, missed opportunities, misunderstandings, but you think the problem is the other person. Well, they don't want the connection. They haven't stepped up. They're misbehaving in some way. This Juno retrograde will open up the mirror and the chance to look and see how when two people are on the dance floor, two people are responsible for the dance. The mirror isn't often how they treat you being a reflection of how you treated them. It's a reflection of how we treat ourselves in some key area of life. This Virgo Juno retrograde will give us the chance to re-examine the way we have shown up for our commitments to ourself at this time, and help us understand why the connection is rendering the way it's rendering via our commitments to ourself, okay, as a mirror. So great opportunity for learning and growth, especially when we're not so emotionally deluged and flooded with a Juno retrograde. Now, for those of you who are enjoying something you'd identify as union, it doesn't have to be married to be considered so. You'll find that this energy is an invitation to regroup and recalibrate and check. Is everything in order for your next step in life the way you need it to be? What steps do you need to take to have the love live on the outside of you and not just on the inside? This will be true whether you're in romantic partnership or spiritual union. Any state of union will invite you into this examination. As we head into this Juno retrograde and union window extension, you may feel bogged down or overwhelmed by your to-do list, especially those who are nearing greater union in the third dimension with a counterpart, but hasn't quite solidified yet. You may also be receiving multiple intuitive prompts about things you need to rearrange or do in the third dimension to make space for your union, to be stable as it comes together in the third dimension. Things you need to do with your money, your home, your car, your family, in particular, your pets or your health. Those are both linked to Virgo. Okay. Um, so that there's a clean slate and ease in the unfoldment of your union coming together in the third dimension now. For those that are fully in some sort of partnership in the third dimension, you're already either married or living together or your business partners under contract, you too may find your to-do list is long at this time with a lot of push to tie up loose ends from 2023 so that you can create runway for 2024 to get off to a good start together. Together, you and your counterpart will need to prioritize what's a must, what's a need, what's a want, and figure out what will be required for your connection to thrive as the foundation for your leadership in the world. You two can use this new moon for strategic decision making, for how you'll accomplish goals together. And not just this new moon, but as we move into the full moon in Leo and this Mars gets closer, Mercury gets closer to Mars, and then the two of them harmoniously align with that Jupiter there. The decision making, you guys are going to be able to make some of the best decisions you'll make all year together toward the end of this month of January. Okay. A great time for two people to harness the energy of reflection a Juno retrograde can bring to plan your next steps before this year gets chaotic and super busy as we get into February. Now, if you're in union and you could use some help getting on the same page, couples readings are available for us to look at both charts and get a sense of which directions you're being pulled in together and as individuals. And if you're in a connection, regardless of the label, a personal reading can help you highlight the access points for union based on your personal chart. So this Virgo Juno retrograde can be a smoother ride. You're not feeling like you're just getting pushed around on an emotional roller coaster. One of the most challenging things to navigate in my own and in many of my clients' journeys is how to work with the energy when you're experiencing so much change in the connection itself so that we don't accidentally add to the challenges and this time and separation without meaning to. So if you'd like some support, book with me over at K Moon Astro so we can see what your chart is showing for your personal union work at this time. And if you're coming as a couple, your joint union work at this time. Okay. If you're new, welcome. Always awesome to have new folks. Definitely subscribe. Sometime last year, my guides prompted me to focus on talking about love with you guys and release the conversation around who's a twin, who's a soulmate, who's a karmic, blah, 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 blah. For various reasons. And I really detailed that in a twin flame update last year titled 2023 to 2027 Twin Flame Union Energy Update. They'd already told me to leave the figuring out of labels of your connection to you and your relationship with God so that I don't step on your intuition and authority in your connection. I detail more of that framework that my work comes from in that twin flame update. It's again in a playlist. You'll see it there if you look for twin flame channeled messages on my channel. Since none of the labels come with an instruction manual, and especially since the 7-year cycle that just opened is an Aries based cycle. Okay. For divine counterparts, your connection's unfoldment will be all things Aries. It will be unique. It will be different. It will be individualized and very personal to you and your counterpart. Because it will be imperative to turn up the volume on your own guidance and your own voice in your connection, looking at your chart can illuminate your personal path for union. Okay. So, heymoonastro.com if you're ready to do that. Let's look at the divine masculine energy here in Taurus. Okay. Fifth degree of Taurus, opposite creation goddess there inside of Scorpio. Sextile Saturn in Pisces here, and trine Mars in Capricorn. I love this energy for the divine masculine energy fields. This is bringing a supreme level of motivation, ambition, and drive into our divine masculine energy fields. It's full of yummy, get up and go, make it happen energy that is well appreciated in Western cultures, especially if you happen to be an American, because, we got to do things, jump through hoops to get our healthcare here. There's a measuredness to the flow with Saturn sextile Jupiter. This combination here, Saturn likes to take things slow and make sure they're all in integrity. Jupiter likes to open things up and move, expansively as quickly as it can when it's communicating with Mars. And so this is like the roots deepening while the branches are expanding, and I love to see it. And there's also a sense of what we're done with the creation goddess in opposition in the sign of endings and completion. Talking about what's done that never got started, but it's time to let go. You'll have the impetus urge to release it here. What's done because it peaked and now it's time for it to wane. You'll have the impetus to let it wane here. What's done because we're ready for the new and the next. That will open up here as well. Very exciting energy. For those in separation and polaric energy of the connection, meaning you're in separation and you're identifying yourself as divine feminine or divine masculine, and the other person as a singular energy as well. Remember, singular energies are separation states. Goal is to be in union inside and outside. You being feminine and masculine, them being feminine and masculine. But for those of you who are in polaric energy of the connection, and there's reasons you might go through for that. People you need to serve from one polaric energy, people they need to serve, lessons you need to learn by inhabiting one pole of the connection. Okay. You'll find that the partner who is occupying the majority of divine masculine energy is busy, 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 busy. Lots of places to go, things to do, people to see, especially for those in this energy who have been trying to start a project, get a business off the ground. You'll find the energy for it is blessed at this lunation, and that doors will open with some level of even unexpectedness, with even greater momentum the closer we get to April, but you'll certainly feel it as Mercury comes to connect with this Mars at the next lunation. This is about trusting yourself to be in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. It will be really critical to pay attention to what feels right and your inner sense of timing and knowing with Jupiter in Taurus, because Taurus governs our inner senses, our 5 senses. So really trusting your senses when they say move, move. For those in some level of non-communication or semi-communication, you may find that there's a vacancy or a void in the divine masculine energy and the connection, as there's a strong focus on the material world and stabilizing and establishing ambition as more than ideas, but also as activities, projects, money, work, those occupying the divine masculine energy in exclusivity may feel that there is so much to do and so little time. If you're feeling a sense of urgency to get things done in this polaric energy, you're right. There's a time thing that you're up against. You want to get some of the major things that you need to get done handled now in January, because February does look like it presents some challenges for collective energies on the whole. You'll be able to work through it, but there may be some very loud distractions in the collective zeitgeist and conversations outside of the twin flame divine counterpart world, just collectively. So while you're free and your potential collaborators are free, now it's go time. The more you can put things into motion now, the better. If you and your counterpart are in polaric energy at this time and you see that your counterpart's attention is elsewhere on material things because they are occupying majority divine masculine energy, invitation to not take it personal. Like I said, there's a timing thing to this that they'll need to get right so that they're in the right place at the right time, doing the right things for the connection to move forward when it's time. And if you're in that polaric divine feminine energy, I believe we just discussed there's a lot of work for the divine feminine to be doing at this time for herself as well. For those of you who are not in polaric energy, you're recognizing yourself as feminine and masculine. You're seeing your counterpart as such as well, and noticing these themes, both themes playing out in both people's lives. You're in some form of union, be it spiritual or third dimensional of some capacity. You're going to find that there's an urge to get things done in the divine masculine energy fields within you, to accomplish, to see your dreams and desires made manifest in the world of form. And this is a great thing. Each of you, in your ways, in your connection, have been seeded with dreams and desires that will help the world if you can water them, grow them into form. So, this urge to move on these things in the now time is exactly what's needed. Again, there's a timing thing here. Many of you are meant to be in a certain place with certain projects complete or in motion as Pluto moves into Aquarius by the end of this month, that are going to help others or light their path or move things forward. Some of you even have these things in motion together in your counterpartship. I've certainly seen people come in who are business partners or who work together in government. So, whatever you can do to streamline tasks, divvy up the work, that and take on what plays to your individual strengths, amp up trust that you each can do this. You trust the other person to do their part. The more you can do that, the better off you're going to be. You guys, majorly exciting times as we kick off 2024 for sure. I definitely want to make sure to pause and thank you for those of you who listen this far. I'm not sure that all of you do, but for those of you who listen this far, when I started this channel back in 2018, it was my intention just to share some things that had been revealed to me, because frankly, I was feeling so oppressed by certain heaviness in my own connection that the only time I felt relief was when I was sharing what was being revealed to me. And I remember talking to Holy Spirit, my guides, and saying, look, if I get out here on YouTube and share this stuff, can I get out of this oppressed feeling? Because I just felt so bound. And sure enough, when I started to share, a release valve came into my life and into my heart. There was movement for me and my connection again, after a period of separation. And there was an openness in me to God that hadn't been there before. Um, and it's still building for me. There's definitely some repair in my relationship to the divine that's unfolding. But one of the things that I have seen is how instrumental you all have been to me. I know you guys leave me love notes in the comments and you tell me, like, K Moon, I wouldn't have gotten a union with my twin if it hadn't have been for you. Or there's, movement here and my connection with my divine counterpart. Or I finally understand this thanks to you. You guys have been so instrumental to me and my growth and my journey, that I really want to say thank you. Thank you for every comment that you've chosen to leave. Thank you for every time you've sent my channel or a video to another person. Thank you for all of the likes that you've given to every video that I have put out here. Um, you know, I I don't tend to be one of those people who has like super chat open. I only just opened up donations for the channel because I felt so weird about that. But just the little things you guys do that are free that support this content has meant the world to me. For each of the moderators on this channel, thank you. You guys come in and you do such an amazing job. The vent. Um, Hope, Love, and Sunshine, Kylie, um, Valkyrie's been here since the beginning. Haven't seen you in a while. Um, all of you who have really shown up, Hope Glitterati, I just appreciate you guys more than I can ever show you, for the ways that you show up for me and for yourselves. I absolutely love you guys. Thank you. And I'm excited we get to do another year together. All right, y'all. You know where to find me if you need me. Otherwise, I'll see you at the next lunation. Take great care and bye for now.